a person say, hey, I just won $1 million. I want to come back to the church and I want to give it and give a portion of it. I want to celebrate with the church. I've never seen as often as when there's somebody that gets into a relationship. You found the man of your dreams. He's not a believer, but he has a six-pack. He's light-skinned, baby hair. And the tendency, human tendency is this. When things are good, I forget about God. When things are bad, I run back to him. And so we have to begin to decide that we will take Jesus in the good times. We will keep him in the times when things are right. When the bank account is full, I'm still coming to church. When I'm looking good, I'm still coming to church. When I get in that new relationship that's exciting, I'm bringing him or her to church. Do you take Jesus in the good times, or do you just allow him to be the God of the bad? Do you just allow him to room and save you when things are bad? Or are you able to say, I'm not just serving God when I'm in need. I'm not just serving God when things are easy or things are hard. I'm going to celebrate with him. They invited Jesus to the wedding. They invited Jesus, watch this, to their marriage, to their relationship. Do you invite him in? The man of Jesus was invited, and he decided that he was going to attend. He was going to be there, and he was going to celebrate with these people. Scripture doesn't say who got married. They say that Mary was a part of this celebration, and she was a part of the planning in some way. And Jesus attends, and he begins to see that there was a big problem. Somebody say a problem. There was a big problem at the wedding. They ran out of wine. This would be equivalent to running out of food on the fourth table of a 12-table reception. Weddings, they lasted 3 to 7 days. This was not just an American wedding in a few hours, take pictures, dance, and then you go home. No, this was a thing. This was a party. This was a week of celebration. And so Jesus is on the scene, and this is not the seventh day, and they run out of wine. They run out of what they expected. Some scholars would believe that they knew that they would run out. They knew that they didn't have enough. And so they wanted Jesus there in order to provide this miracle, this miraculous. But Jesus faces a big problem. But what I want to encourage you with is this: problems precede the supernatural. I wish I could stand up here and say, you can get a miracle even when you don't have needs. But problems precede the supernatural. If you will begin to see your life and the problems you have as an opportunity for the supernatural or the miraculous to happen, it will change your perspective on problems. Problems are not an issue, they are an opportunity. They are an opportunity for God to step into your midst and in your life and do something incredible. John 2:1, on the third day at the wedding, a wedding took place at Cana in Galilee. Jesus' mother was there, and Jesus and his disciples had also been invited to the wedding. When the wine was gone, Jesus' mother said to him, they have no more wine. And this is what Jesus says: woman, don't try that at home. Why do you involve me? Jesus replied, my hour has not yet come. Scripture says that they ran out. Jesus says, hey, do not try to get me involved. I did not try to step in or want to step into my full purpose at this time. This word woman translated is insensitive in the English, but in the Greek, it wasn't as bad as what it seems. It could be translated as lady. This was a term of endearment. And so high school students, husbands, don't go home and call her woman and say, I'm following Jesus, right? Woman, I'm not doing the dishes. All right, just had to get that out. I feel better now. Jesus is saying, why do you involve me in this manner? Why do you involve me in this time? This is what I love about Mary. Mary knew something that no one else knew. She knew where to go when there was a crisis. She knew where to go when things ran out. Where do you go when things are running out? When your money runs out? When your joy runs out, when your peace runs out, provision runs out, where do you run? Mary ran to Jesus. She knew that when things go bad, you're called to do two things. You're called to flee and follow. You're called to flee to God, run to him. And the second point, watch this, you're called to follow what he says. She says, do whatever he says you to do. This is what she told the disciples, the people at the wedding. Do whatever he says. And so when crisis hits, you flee to God. You follow whatever he says for you to do. Some of us get 1 out of 2 right. We flee to God, but we don't listen to what he says. Sometimes God will tell you something that does not make sense. It is the opposite of what you would think. It's the opposite of logic. What, you want me to do what? You want me to serve when I feel tired already? What, you want me to give when my finances aren't intact anymore or at this time? God, why do you ask me to do this? And he's seeing if you will obey him and if you can walk in a life in a manner of faith. Problems will always precede the supernatural. And so when we are at a place where we don't know where to look, where we don't know where to turn, we have to turn to him. We have to begin to listen to his voice and follow what he says. We need to be able to upgrade our current way of thinking and to be able to transition from a mindset of I have to do it on my own to God, what are you saying for me to do? Mary knew where to go. Do you know where to go? This was not a case of responding to what was happening. This was a case of I have an intimate relationship with this woman, and so now she's coming to me, and so I will decide to do something. This is what his mother said to the servants, do whatever he tells you. Verse 6, nearby stood 6 stones, water jugs, the kind used by the Jews for ceremonial washing, each holding from 20 to 30 gallons. Jesus said to the servants, fill the jars. So they filled them to the brim. A second point is this, the obsolete must overflow. The obsolete must overflow. The old thing needs to begin to make room for the new in your life and in our life. This is what happened. The jars, these were icons of the old covenant, icons of the Old Testament. They were used for ceremonial cleansing. They represented the law. They represented the former way of doing things. And that did no longer serve them in the new. That no longer served them when Jesus steps on the scene. And so now he is transitioning the people's perspective of, hey, you had the old, but now I am the new. Fill it up to the brim and overflow so that the new thing can make way. The obsolete, the old needs to move out and the new needs to return. You ever been to the Verizon store? T-Mobile, Cricket if you're really struggling in the Lord, come on. Shout out to my Cricket people. Boost Mobile if you need God to step in. No judgment. And you go to that store and you want to upgrade your phone. that upgrade is significant. You got the iPhone 4. You can barely take pictures. Like, this is like a thing, right? And you go to that store. Back in the day, we didn't have no iPhones. We started with the BlackBerry, right? The BlackBerry was like, oh my goodness, you had a BlackBerry, you had that little ball in the middle that you would just scroll around, and you can change the color of that ball with the light. It was just like, man, I have a BlackBerry. You can answer emails on the BlackBerry. It was amazing. Before even that, you would have something called T9. Yeah. Y'all don't, the younger people don't know about this. You would have to press A, B, C in order to get one letter. And it took 30 years to type a sentence. And you would be charged 10 cents if you sent a text and 10 cents if you received it. You couldn't even control your bill. If somebody texts you back to back, you're paying more money. And so you would get that phone, that BlackBerry, you thought it was incredible. Then you would upgrade to the Palm Pilot. Oh, if you had Palm Pilot, you were a businessman or woman. You had the full 3-piece suit. The Palm Pilot came with a stylist. You were styling with the stylist. It wouldn't really work that much because the technology wasn't right, but it just looked incredible, right? And then the iPhone came into existence. And you began to see things that you would not normally. You didn't need to be connected to the Wi-Fi. You would just be able to just be browsing from your phone at any location. And you would go to this Verizon store. You got the iPhone 4, and they say, "Man, I haven't seen a phone this old in a while. Man, how have you been surviving?" And you upgrade your phone. The phone not only replaces the old, but it provides new features that you didn't even know existed. It provides new features that you didn't even know you had. You can do all types of things with the 16 compared to the 4. This is what happens in our relationship with God when we upgrade to something greater. When we say the obsolete is going to be replaced, it's not just replaced with the old, it's upgraded in its features, it's upgraded in its lifestyle, it's upgraded with how you live. And so the obsolete must overflow to the new. What God has been trying to do in 2025 with you is he's been trying to take out the old so that the new can come. And you don't know that there's features on the other side of the overflow, but you've been fighting. You've been holding on. You've been trying to keep on to the old way. God is saying, step out. God is saying, trust. God is saying, do it. On the other side of that moment is a miracle. On the other side of that faith moment is what I can do when you trust in me. Would you do it? The obsolete must overflow. Jesus used, watch this, an iconic symbol of the law that had gone empty and its time was over, but soon would be replaced by something better. God's original covenant with Israel was perfect when it was given, but now it was to be designed to only be temporary. Are you living in a moment where it was supposed to be okay for a while, but that was supposed to be only temporary?